So today, guys, we have our gracious volunteer Kate, and we're going to be going over why somebody gets shoulder pain.
Hey guys!
Thanks, Kate. So the first thing that you need to know is when we talk about the shoulder, what we actually mean is this entire complex is the shoulder. You have the glenohumeral joint, which is where the humerus or the arm bone meets the shoulder blade, and then you have the actual shoulder blade itself. Many muscles attached to them. Now, most people with shoulder pain, they feel pain in the shoulder, but there are usually either two problems that occur. Either there's an actual shoulder problem right here where you have some sort of irritation in the glenohumeral joint or the rotator cuff, or the more significant and the more common problem is that there's a problem with the shoulder blade and the structures around it, including the muscles that attach to it, and more importantly, the spine. So I want to demonstrate on Kate what we'd be looking for if we're assessing someone's shoulder and what it could mean and what we could do about it. So Kate, I'm going to get you to slide over a little bit right here. Now, we're going to pretend that Kate has a shoulder problem, and usually most people, especially if you're a weightlifter like Kate or you play sports, you're going to get shoulder pain right about there. And so if that's where the pain is, we want to figure out if there's a problem in the shoulder actually causing it, or if there's something happening around the shoulder that's causing it. So the first thing that I would do is I would look, and I can see with Kate is that she has a nice upright skeletal structure, her shoulder blade sits nice and vertically in a good position, and I can also see that her shoulder points out at a good angle. I noticed with the observation that there's nothing obviously wrong with how the shoulder sits in its position, and that's really important. We're going to talk about that in a second. And then the next important thing that we want to figure out is if the actual glenohumeral joint is moving properly, and if that is the problem. So a really simple test that we do here in the office is, Kate, I'm going to take your hand right here. You're going to let it go as soft as you can, which is often a bit of a challenge. And so what I'll do with Kate is I'll hold down her shoulder blade and just move the glenohumeral joint. And nice and soft, Kate. Good. Does that bother you there?
No.
So you can see right here I get that glenohumeral joint nice and soft up to about 90 degrees. It's got some nice spring there. It probably doesn't bother Kate.
No, I'm good.
Exactly. So let's say that she had the pain and that reproduced it, then we know that's where our painful source is. We could figure out what tissue is irritated. And what will often happen is that that shoulder, yes, will come up to about 90 degrees, no problem. But the next important part that we do with our testing is, Kate, again, I'm going to bore your shoulder, and I'm going to try and lift it overhead and bonk you in the ear. And what I'm going to be assessing for to see if the actual shoulder blade moves well around it. And if it doesn't, that's really indicative of what the actual problem is. So with Kate, we lift up the arm really slow, and when I get to about right here, I start to notice that there's some tension underneath and through the lats and the tricep. And so Kate, you'll notice that about here is all good, it feels nice and loose, and then when you get right there, it tightens up. So if Kate did have a shoulder problem, and I noticed that tightness a little bit lower at say 140 or 150 degrees, that would indicate to me that, with her arm coming up to 90, the glenohumeral joint is good, but with the arm getting stuck at say 150 or 160 degrees, that's indicative of a shoulder problem being caused by stuff going around the shoulder. And so in this case, it's tight, it would be tight muscles stuck here in through the armpit or in the latissimus dorsi muscle, acting like guide wires, pulling that arm downwards and not letting it come up all the way. So that every time Kate tried to lift her arm overhead, we would notice that those muscles are holding it down and holding it tight, which would obviously be a problem. So another thing that we'll notice, and Kate, I'll get you to turn a little bit to the side here. Yeah, perfect. If somebody's having shoulder pain and we know it's not coming from the glenohumeral joint, then the next thing we'll look at is their skeletal structure. And so, Kate, I'm going to pretend like you have to pretend like you're going to have bad posture for a second. Thank you. So if you have a shifted spinal posture, or if you've ever noticed that at the office you really end up with that anterior spinal shift, odds are that you probably are doing that at the gym as well. And so what can happen is you can see Kate's shoulder blade has gone from sitting like this to sitting forward. And if this is what her spinal structure was like all the time, it would be very tough to get her arm to come up overhead and you see it gets blocked there, Kate. So the shoulder blade is not rotating properly, and that's because of the way that the shoulder blade is sitting on the spine. The spine's not allowing it to move up all the way, and as a result, every time she goes overhead, she's going to get that jamming in there. And in this case, shoulder pain there, but the actual problem is related to how the shoulder blade sits on the spine. And in some cases, it could be a direct result of how the spine is actually shaped. And so that's where you might need a physiotherapist or some other practitioner to help you specifically with what's going on in the shoulder. But to actually fix the underlying problem with the pain in the shoulder, you're going to have to look at structurally correcting some of the changes in the spine and in the neck as well. And let's give one more example. So when we do our neurostructural examination, we're always going to check to see how the muscles of the spine are being powered on. So a great example of that is, Kate, if you sit with great posture right now. Yeah, that's perfect. And if we go to touch your deltoid, which is powered on by the axillary nerve, you're going to push up as hard as you can here. And I'm going to push down as hard as I can. Excellent. Beast mode. Can't move Kate there. Very, very, very strong. Neck nerves are coming down, powering on that muscle very, very well. But what you'll notice is, Kate, I'll get you to again sit with that poor posture. This is going to change the way that the shoulder muscles are being powered on by the neck nerves. They're going to have more stress on them. And the way the muscles actually sit and change how powerful they are. So you're going to hold up that arm again, sit with your really, really bad posture, and you're going to push up as hard as you can. Okay? And so push, 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 and I can easily move Kate.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kate. And that's partially because the nerves are getting a little bit stressed, leaving the neck, and the muscles aren't as powerful there. So another indication that if there is a structural change in the spine, that could really impinge the shoulder, or in this case, really weaken the muscles and the nerves that go to it, which would necessitate some corrective care. So a couple of recommendations to you. If you're noticing that you're just having some shoulder pain, but your overall skeletal structure is perfect, go see a physiotherapist or something that can help you with just getting that shoulder and rotator cuff moving properly. But if you keep having shoulder problems and it won't go away, that's where making some corrections to the spine or working to restore your proper structural alignment, whether it's at home or getting some professional help, that would be the next step for you. So I hope that was really useful information, especially if you have a shoulder problem. Again, it's Dr. Alex Ritza, and if you know somebody with a shoulder problem and know that needs to know this information, please share it on their Facebook, share it on their Instagram, email it to them, and that will help us reach more people so that they can get back in the gym and living life to the fullest. And thanks, Kate.
Thank you.